This is a video journal for Millais and the Haunted Castle. So number one, what is the purpose of a trick film? Trick film is a film that uses special effects, video editing, and illusion, like sleight of hand, to create a fantastical image or a supernatural image. Tom Gunning is quoted by Rick Warland. He talks about the idea of a cinema of attractions to describe like the style of films produced in this early phase. Gunning goes on to say that in these films' conceptions and exhibition to audience, early films were more like discrete, unconnected acts in a three-ring circus or sort of games, ride shows, or other attractions. So this kind of highlights like the sensationalism and like being able to see something you never would have been able to see before, especially like in a recorded medium. So number two, the horror elements. There's a bunch of like horror elements inside the short Haunted Castle. For being only a few minutes long, it fits in a lot. For one, it starts off with like the bat and vampire narrative, which is something you see all the time, and Warland even says how most stories can be traced back to Frankenstein, Dracula, or Jekyll and Hyde. Oh, by the way, the above quote is from location 509 to 511 inside my Kindle. But back to the horror elements. Also the gothic setting, the foreboding setting, the big castle, tall ceilings that really makes you feel small and insignificant and isolated. So that works effectively to create a scary feeling that's associated with the horror genre. There's also supernatural occurrences with the bench moving back and forth. There's discussion of death. You see the skeleton, you see ghosts torturing this poor man. There's also like images of sexuality by having the girl come in, he kisses her hand, she turns into an old woman. Horror kind of talks about sex and those unmentionable things. There's also Judeo-Christian imagery when he pulls out the cross. That's another beat of the horror genre you see pretty often, is using religious iconography. I always say it's so weird. Iconography to defeat a monster. And that's the last part I want to talk about, is having your monster be defeated. Warland argues earlier in horror films that a lot of these like classic ones end with a happy ending or a monster that's defeated and tied up in a bow. And you get that monster defeat while using a Christian image. And lastly, how this sets a precedent for the future. Namely, it's the advance in special effects. The world of horror and the supernatural stories is going to benefit a lot from having this illusionary film editing on their side and this skill set. A lot of movies in the future are known for their special effects more than, say, their story. And it kind of allows for there to be like a place held to respect spectacle. If you can create spectacle and do it well and wow people, who's to say that that's cheap? You're receiving response, a reaction, and that's all you can really ask for with art. So just because there's not maybe an in-depth story or character development, sometimes the sight and the spectacle is enough to give it its value. Thank you.